Feeding a homemade, raw meat-based diet to your dog, cat, or ferret can sound kind of expensive. But in reality, feeding homemade raw food can actually end up being cheaper than feeding good quality dry and canned food, especially if you're feeding these super cheap yet super nutritious meats. The first one is pork spleen, which is a secreting organ. Secreting organs like kidney, pancreas, and spleen are incredibly important in raw diets, so you need to feed at least one. If your pet were in the wild and eating their natural prey, they would be getting tons of the vitamins and minerals they need from their prey's organs. No synthetic nutrients or multivitamins needed there. Spleen is not only a cheap secreting organ meat, but it's also the most iron-rich food source you could ever find. And because of this, it's an amazing option to feed growing pets because they need a lot more iron in their diet. A few years ago, I contacted a beef butcher to see if they had any offcuts they could get me, and they told me to come in the next day when they opened. When I got there, they greeted me with an entire box of liver and spleen for free. Now, when I'm buying spleen, pork spleen seems to be a few cents cheaper than beef spleen, and usually comes in at about $3 per pound from butchers and online raw feeding shops. The next super cheap animal part is chicken neck. Chicken necks are considered a raw meaty bone, and meaty bones like necks provide the minerals needed for your pet's bones to stay strong and resilient. They're also one of the cheaper meaty bones out there and usually found at international markets and butcher shops. I personally love chicken necks because they're the perfect size for any pet. My 27-pound corgi and my 3-pound ferrets have all loved munching on chicken necks. Neck bone segments also do a great job at cleaning the tartar off your pet's teeth as they chew. So if you're in need of a cheap meaty bone, keep your eyes peeled for chicken necks. I usually see chicken necks for a little over $1.50 per pound. The next super cheap meat is a muscular organ that isn't normally consumed by us humans. Because of this, it may be a little difficult to find at stores and shops. But this is also a pro, because less demand means it'll be pretty cheap when you find it. What is it? Beef lungs. Muscular organs, like lungs, are a bit different than secreting organs, like spleen, liver, and kidney. So there are two different organ meat categories. But for the sake of adding variety to the diet to mimic their natural prey's body in the wild, I like to add at least one muscular organ. I used to get beef, turkey, and rabbit lungs from my local farmer, and many times she just gave them to me for free. But I've also gotten them online from a few popular raw feeding websites as well. And from what I see in these shops, they're about $2.50 to $3.50 per pound. The next meat is chicken heart, which is a carnivore's natural multivitamin. And unlike the last two meats I talked about, heart is sold in tons of local shops and grocery stores. So it's not only nutritious and cheap, but it's also easy to find. Chicken hearts are also the perfect portion for pets of all sizes. So if you're not a fan of cutting meats into a bunch of small pieces, I suggest going with chicken hearts. I usually find them at about $1.59 per pound. Since chicken meat is commonly sold almost everywhere, many of their parts will be pretty cheap to buy. So, to no surprise, the next body part also comes from a chicken: gizzards. This muscular organ is part of the chicken's digestive system and grinds up the food as the chicken eats. They're also commonly found in meat markets, butcher shops, and even chain grocery stores. So they're a great low-cost meat to add for more body part variety. Gizzards are also perfect to feed if your pet needs to build up their jaw strength. Gizzards can be pretty chewy, so this really helps encourage your pet to work those jaw muscles. Gizzards were always what Matsu worked at the longest during puppyhood. I usually find these at about $1.59 per pound, or sometimes even a little under. Okay, these are only 5 of the many cheap meats you can feed your pet. There are a ton more out there that can allow you to feed raw while also saving money. Not long ago, I did a video on how much money I spend raw feeding my dog, cat, and ferret. So if you want the breakdowns of what I feed and how much it costs, you can watch that video here.